I'm Mia Harpy, and just like someone constantly knocking on your door, the topic of the Scholar class being good or not keeps on reappearing in my mind. At least ever since seeing the reaction to the Endwalker jaw trailer. Now, I know everyone has their own opinion on the matter, and I know how important it is to hear them out. Though, you'll always get a different sort of opinion from everyone. One of the things I always say is that people are so different that together, it's like shoving a big amount of random ingredients and putting them into a blender. And you guys probably can get an idea on how odd of a taste that would be. From what I can tell, there are a few things that has been said that I see popping up on occasion when it comes to the job trailer. Scholar isn't loved. Sage fixes all the problems Scholar has. Or Sage is what Scholar should be. Scholar is a speed mage, and Double Scholar is the worst. There is nothing wrong with anyone on having these opinions. But before I talk about these opinions, I think probably the best way to express my feelings toward the class is by sharing my own experiences with it. For starters, Scholar has been my main for 7 years, ever since Around Reborn. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking after me saying that. That because I've been with the class for such a long time, that immediately means I'm probably just loving the class because of nostalgia and I'm too comfortable with it. This I can't deny, but at the same time, I want to try giving it a neutral look. And even if it's true now, that wouldn't excuse my first year of playing Scholar. I actually wasn't the best Scholar as I was still trying to get used to the class. But it wasn't just because of the class itself. I would have just as much difficulty with White Mage. I was a complete scrub, learning how to play the game, didn't know about the other classes very well, especially Summoner since I didn't want to change my stats often at the time. Yes, an actual thing. I just didn't know all the general basics that most people can learn much more quickly nowadays, especially with the tutorial they added later on with the EXP buff ring. Now, I don't know how many other people had the same problems I did, but one of the major problems I had to break through was my tunnel vision healing. It's where even though you see your screen, you're actually only looking at everyone's HP bars. For me, it was mostly due to the fear of messing up. And because of that, I would miss important mechanics and end up getting hurt, or killed afterwards. The next issue I had was actually fully learning my class. Sure, when you see someone injured, you just heal them, right? Well, Scholar I find a bit different. Like, here's a fun example. A person's hand is in a never-ending fire. A White Mage would grab a big water bucket and pour water on the burning hand, and then refills the bucket because the hand is going to get injured again. But the water does help greatly on easing the pain. A Scholar, on the other hand, would put a cover over the fire, put a smaller bucket of water on the hand, refill the bucket, and wait till the cover from the fire is removed to repeat again. Took me a bit of time to figure this out, and now, I always say shield first, healing later, unless the player needs a big emergency heal. And lastly, Lily, or Eos, which at first for me was difficult to understand because I would have to use a pet hotbar at the time. I couldn't stop Eos from collecting aggro, even with the action obey was on. Eos would naturally heal the injured tank if the tank was close enough when in dungeons. This is actually normal, but I didn't know at the time. And then sometimes it turns out when the tank was pulling multiple mobs, he wasn't using any AoEs, so Eos gained aggro on the mobs. And I was blamed for it and was told I was a terrible healer. Which I thought it was true because I was a new player and I didn't have much experience at playing a tank class at the time. Yeah, bad experience. But now the pet system has been changed, it's actually been much easier because the pet actions acted as skills instead. Even though EOS will still heal an injured tank, which again is normal. At least easy for me. Not sure how summoners felt about their Titan Eggy no longer tanking. I'll just assume in a negative way. But yeah, those were a few things that I had trouble with as a complete newbie, and I can safely say I understand the troubles some of you may have to go through to learn how to play Scholar. After that first year, I ended up joining raid groups. I had a bigger understanding on how everything worked because before every new expansion, I maxed all my classes. To the point where I have enough experience in doing wall-to-wall pulls with the newest content. even during Shadowbringers. Sounds like I don't have any issues with the class, right? Well, yes and no in a way. Honestly, a person who mains Scholar like me for quite a while won't have much trouble playing the class. The only trouble that I usually have, along with every class in the game, is learning the new skills and see how well it works out for me in the best way possible. That's the yes, but what about the no? Well, it's not gameplay that's the issue. The issue I see, for personal reasons, is this. When I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV, I didn't saw Arcanist as a mage class. I saw it more as a pet class. When you choose between Scholar and Summoner, since it's originally from an Arcanist, it should still be pretty much a pet class. Summoner has the Aggies and Primals. For Scholar, we technically lost a pet and now only down to one. I actually love Eos as she has helped me every single battle. In fact, her abilities are one of the things that can generally stack when you have a second Scholar in the group. Except for Seraphic Illumination and Fate Illumination together. But Celine, who was the main DPS fairy, lost all of her abilities as she's more there just for nostalgia now. Any new player who picks up Scholar will be confused on Celine's existence alone. It is my hope and dream that the dev team will make Celine useful again, but it's not my call for it to happen. I wouldn't mind if Celine was just used to quicken my healing spells or make my shield stronger. Sure, I understand they can't have her for DPS support to keep the game balanced, but I truly feel we need more than one fairy or something to see the Scholar as a pet class and not just a shield healer class. Going through the opinions I mentioned before, Scholar isn't loved. I honestly think it's a point of view. People either love or hate this class, just like I don't like playing Black Mage, and yet it's Yoshi P's beloved class. Is it loved by the dev team? How can I even know the true answer? I don't think anyone can actually say the answer to that except for the dev team themselves. Unless Scholar can't be played well at all, even with the best Scholars across the servers. But given that the dev team does seem to try desperately hard to keep the game balanced and how Scholars like me don't have much trouble with the class, I highly doubt it's because of that. And a class shouldn't be judged on how loved it is based on how shiny it is with each new expansion either. Sage fixes all the problems Scholar has, and Sage is what Scholar should be. If this is referring to the shields not stacking, I love to point out that the Astrologian shields don't stack with other Astrologian shields either. And same with a Scholar in Astrologian. And I highly doubt that Sage's shields will be stacking too because of the game's balancing. If they do end up stacking, then it's possible they'll have all shields stack. Which would be terrible for balancing because it'll practically be infinite shields. If it's not about shields, I don't know what they are referring to. If anything, no offense to anyone, if this is about shields, then this sort of opinion feels like it came from those who just didn't know. Scholar is a speed mage. I think this opinion is mostly for funsies. If anything, I think having it where you can have the whole group sprint when they are in range can be extremely useful for trials and raids. There are multiple occasions when the player is a bit too distracted in keeping their combo, and they will try to get one more hit in before trying to get out of an AoE. So I can see this build being wanted to where it's possible people will be asking for a Scholar for their raid, or extreme trial group if there is an AoE mechanic that people rather have an easier time to avoid. Though, I wouldn't necessarily call Scholar a speed mage since they removed our poor Celine's ability to use haste, and some of the spells feel a bit slow to cast. But I see this more of a jug which I can totally get behind. Double Scholar is the worst. Now how I see it, you can say that with any class when it comes to high-end raiding, because having the same classes affects your LB3 bar where it's harder to build it up, at least from what I remember from when I used to raid, and it's usually not viable. But even so, it's usually not an issue when doing normal content. In fact, I don't mind going into a dungeon with a double dancer. Now I actually done trials and alliance raids with double Scholar. Yes, it will feel like your Succor became useless when the other uses Succor as well. However, if both of the Scholars know that shields don't stack, you can get around this issue. Eos is one for starters with her spells. There's the use of emergency tactics, and of course there's indomitability. The only way a person could see this as a problem is if they never level up past 50. And even then, you still have Whispering Dawn. I'm sorry if I dragged this for far too long, and the best I can really say is, it's fine if you like or don't like the class. And I know you can't change anyone's opinions freely, just like how I have my own opinions myself. But I do know the importance of sharing reasons to your opinion so others can see and possibly understand your feelings towards it. Just remember that at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, playing your favorite classes and experiencing classes you're interested in. Oh, and by the way, yes, the Sage class looks very pretty and the Scholar's animations generally look no different. That's probably the main reason why Sages gain all the love and Scholars gain hate, even though they are both shield healers and their DPS output will most likely be the same. But that's just an opinion of how it seems like, because I do personally like how the Sage looks. Anyways, hope you guys have a great day and see you later.